Welcome to the world of business banking. No, we're not talking about Wall Street, although we could. We're talking simply about the way that your business collects and accepts money and what to do with it after that. I'm Dr. Michael Smith. I'm a naturopathic medical doctor in Idaho, and I have started my own practice, and with that, everything that goes along with it, including business banking. So let's dive into this a little bit more. One of my favorite parts of practicing is getting an income, is having that money come in, whether it's you're billing insurance, whether you do a cash pay, your credit card, merchant processing, it comes in, you get paid. It's awesome. But where does that money go? And what do you do with it after that? I am a doctor. I'm not formally a business person. I'm not a lawyer for certain. So this is not legal advice, and I recommend you go talk to a lawyer if you need any, or an accountant if you have any specific questions about this. But in my experience, it's really helpful if you can have a business like banking account, even a checking account, and a savings account that's separate from your personal banking account. That keeps the money flow a little bit separate. If you're owning it, owning a business, you're having money coming in, you're probably going to have access to that money. It's going to flow, and you can transfer that money. You can pay yourself from your business account to your personal account, and it's a pretty informal process. You can go to my most recent video about LLCs, and as I talk about that, about owning your own LLC and practice, things like that. So for number one, it's really helpful to have a business bank account. How do you do that? When I was setting up my business banking, I ultimately just went with the credit union that I have my banking with, my personal banking with already. There are a bazillion banks that would love to have your business, love to have your money, many credit unions as well. Ultimately, I was already a member of a credit union, so it actually made it a lot easier for me to set up a business account with them because I was already a member of with them already. So that was really nice. I went online. Actually, I think I reached out to somebody. I ended up talking to the business banking department, somebody in that department of the bank. They helped me with the application. I filled it out. There was some paperwork I needed to complete. But overall, it was a fairly simple, straightforward process. I was able to set up my checking account and my savings account. And by savings account, literally just has $1 in it, and my checking account is where my money flow happens. And different banks will have different perks, so you can shop around and compare like what perks of that bank, business banking, do you want to have. I really like working with a credit union because there are often lower or no fees for things where banks, commercial banks, would charge fees for those things. So that's how I found and I got my banking account. When you are setting up your bank account, you do need to have your employer identification number, or your EIN. Talked about that in my last video, where you've set up your business with the state as an LLC or however you've done it. You go to the IRS, you set up a business, you set up your EIN, employer identification number, your business social security number, effectively. You need that in order to get a bank account. So that's important. And it's a fairly straightforward process. Now, a couple things that have come up in my experience in regards to business banking. Number one are these things, these wonderful things we call checks. I know it's kind of a foreign term, but checks still are nice to have. There have been several times where the only way I can pay for something as a business is through a check. One of them is my rent, just the way my rent situation is working out in my practice. They weren't able to accept like digital forms of payment. transferring money or whatever. So I really just needed to order some checks, and then I just write it out and give a check every month. So it's nice that way. There are other situations when paying vendors, or I recently had an interpreter come in for one of my patients, paying for that experience for them to provide that service to my patient. It's easily done in a check. Are there other ways of transferring money? Yes, online bill pay is great. I love it. But sometimes you just need checks. So being aware of how checks work, um, ordering checks is helpful. The second thing is a credit card. A lot of online subscriptions and everything, they obviously want you to put a credit card in. I am going to speak very generally about this. As a business, I'm still figuring out my business credit card, at least at this moment of recording this video. So some things that I've been thinking about in regards to credit cards are, number one, the institution where I'm banking. I really like the idea of having all of my everything under one roof. And so I've seriously looked into getting a business credit card, a Visa, with the credit union that I have my business account and my personal banking account. Everything is under one roof. It makes it really easy to transfer money around, and between my own accounts and so forth. That's just one of the considerations. Other considerations include the rewards for those credit cards. I know that there's some legislature in Congress that may have the potential, I can't remember if it's passed or not, to influence credit card points and rewards. So, but in the current system where you can get a credit card, it's really nice if you're spending a lot of money to be able to get some rewards for those. Business credit cards may often have a slightly higher rate. Like oftentimes, I think it's like a 1 point for every dollar spent. Sometimes with business credit cards, you can get extra cash back if the money is being spent on hotels or airfare, or like rental cars, or even utilities like phones, cell phones, gas, other things like that. The business related expenses. So there's some perks that way. And other things to think about are, when looking around for a credit card, include the annual fees. Just like any other credit card, there may or may not be fees depending on the perks that are associated with that credit card, the interest rates, and other features of reputation of the company, the bank that you're working with, things like that. There's a host of online individuals that know way more about credit cards than I do. I'm going to defer to them, and I'll probably share a little bit more in the future about my experience with credit cards after I get that set up. So, business banking. Number one, you need an account. Number two, keep it separate from your personal. Number three, pick a bank that works for you, or credit union that you like, has a good reputation. Number four, you may need checks. Number five, you may need a credit card to keep things separate. I have also been using QuickBooks, online software, to track my finances. And in doing so, I've been able to connect that with my bank accounts. And now allows me another way of managing, keeping track of all my receipts and categories and budgets and things like that. So that's also been beneficial in that regard. So, business banking, not Wall Street. It's actually rather in your own office, neighborhood, or maybe even kitchen table, depending on where you end up doing your finances. I hope this has been helpful. Again, not legal or financial advice, but really from my experience, having started a business, going through all this myself, I hope it's helpful, and I wish you all the best in your business banking adventures. Have a great day.